barest survival here and there of a brushstroke suggestive of Impressionism indicates the reluctance with which Matisse was shedding many of the received and learned techniques of his youth. The penumbras surrounding the figures are virtually gone in the sketch, save for the back of the flower girl, and do not appear at all in the final version. And his most brilliant color concept, the pale copper oxide blue-green of the kneeling figure, had to be ruthlessly omitted from the final version for it to attain its unique serenity. Henri Matisse gives us a modern Aphrodite risen from the sea, erotic yet narcissistic, destined only for the eyes. Landscape with Brook, Brook with Aloes, 1907. The surface pattern is here the chief structural device, and color is the vehicle whereby it is accomplished. The brook flows across the front of the scene, but does not lead us back into an illusionistic pace. The hillside of greens, blues, and ochres offers a soft harmony of hues that is barely disturbed by a few impetuously fauve touches of red. Furthermore, the high horizon reinforces the picture's lack of depth, leading the eye upward rather than inward. Harmony in Red, 1908. The magnetic red of the wall and tablecloth, with the interweaving blue pattern, is one of Matisse's most unusual color creations, and its history is fascinating and complex. The canvas began its life as Harmony in Green, and was then transformed into Harmony in Blue. It was publicly exhibited and sold to Shushkin. Then, in 1909, Henri Matisse persuaded Shushkin to return this picture to him, and at that time the definitive Harmony in Red emerged. The landscape seen through the window at the upper left reinforces the floral arabesques of the interior, setting up a provocative dialogue between nature itself and its decorative transformations found in the interior. Algerian Lady, 1909. The Lady in Green, 1909. Dance, 1910. This painting may be interpreted as an anti-cubist demonstration of how figures may be linked by means of muscular arabesques and intense color contrasts with the abstracted ground, in contrast to Cubism's evolving device of binding together figures and objects through arbitrary overlaps and planar deformations in an illusionistic space. The sources for dance are multiple, reaching back into antiquity. Matisse had been stimulated by observing country dancers at Collioure and Parisian dancing at the Moulin de la Galette, and he kept his eye on contemporary life while developing his modern mythologies. Music, 1910. Matisse turned his attention to a composition of male figures. He reduced them to a series of hieroglyphs, but significantly, musical ones. It remains explicable only in terms of the dancers that preceded and the bathers that were to follow. There is no consistent precedent for identifying dance with the female and music with the male. Indeed, as the pictures presently stand, the sexual differentiation may be virtually meaningless. Marguerite Matisse, 1910. Flower and Ceramics, 1910. Red Studio, 1911. The very simplicity of its hue masks one of the artist's most subtle achievements. The nature of its redness is itself magical, utterly without precedent in other paintings by Matisse. The physical surface is matte and dry. The spatial effect is barely suggested. The local colors of individual objects play almost no role in the total effect, and the final impression is both electric and inductive of contemplation. It's an allegory of the senses, both as a pure painted surface and as a representation of a corner of the artist's studio filled with objects of obvious biographic significance. Pink Studio, The Painter Studio, 1911. The first impression received from this picture is as jolting as that of its companion, Red Studio. The unheralded quality of the pink, which is not as all-pervasive as the red of the other, is in no way muted by the differing intensities applied to the floor and the wall, and the prominent areas of green and blue serve to reinforce its sumptuous luminosity, a quality significantly absent from Red Studio. The topography of the studio is here more explicit. The view, with its glimpse through the open window, is conventionally frontal. Both of these monumental compositions were painted in the same environment. The artist's studio at Issy-les-Moulineaux is demonstrated by the correspondence of several works of art, notably the second version of Le Luxe, indicating that the right third of Red Studio is in actuality the left third of Pink Studio. The Painter's Family, 1911. Henri Matisse's wife is in the left distance. His sons, Pierre and Jean, are at the checkerboard, and his daughter, Marguerite, stands at the right. While not muted, the color is static, a feature helped by Marguerite's black dress. A single work of art, a small bronze figure, stands on the mantel over the central fireplace. Otherwise, this is a domestic, bourgeois interior, and despite the picture's large size, remarkably intimate in quality. Still Life with Aubergine, 1911. 3 aubergines, or eggplants, are balanced precariously on a tablecloth, carrying an undulating white pattern that reinforces their tuberous shape. A mirror at the left, partly obscured at the bottom by a drawing portfolio, reflects these and other objects on the table in an inconsistent fashion. Behind the screen, we glimpse the top of an open door, probably leading to another room, where our eye is arrested by a checkered blue hanging. On the wall to the right is an open window with a real landscape beyond. For the rest, the floor and wall are covered with abstract 5-part floral patterns, all identical. The total effect of the picture is one of an